Welcome back to Demolition Worker. Today, we begin carving the steel whale as the massive topsides demolition phase finally gets underway. Resting securely on dry land, this colossal offshore oil rig awaits its final fate at the hands of heavy machinery. The sheer scale of this towering structure is absolutely breathtaking, casting long shadows across the busy, sprawling industrial salvage yard. Before any cutting begins, safety crews meticulously inspect every single section of the rig to ensure a completely secure work environment. Primary weapons for this monumental task are specialized long-reach excavators perfectly equipped with incredibly powerful giant metal shears. These mechanical beasts slowly roll into position, their massive hydraulic arms reaching high toward the upper decks of the platform. The operators inside the cabins are highly skilled veterans, ready to carefully dismantle this giant maze of thick steel beams. With a deafening roar, the first excavator strikes the outer walkway, tearing away the rusty handrails with surprising mechanical precision. Watch closely as the sharp steel jaws bite into the metal, crushing thick support beams as if they were fragile toothpicks. The sheer crushing force generated by these hydraulic shears is immense, easily slicing through heavy industrial-grade marine steel plating. Pieces of the exterior framework begin to detach, falling heavily to the ground below in a massive cloud of brown dust. Next, the machines target the old living quarters, a multi-story module where hundreds of offshore workers once slept and lived. The shears easily rip off the outer walls, exposing the empty corridors and abandoned cabins to the bright daylight outside. Furniture and debris cascade down as the powerful excavator systematically shoots through the sturdy floors of the former accommodation block. It is strangely fascinating to see such a familiar human space being ruthlessly torn apart by cold, unfeeling steel machinery. Metal panels loudly groan and screech under the immense pressure, bending violently before finally snapping away from the main structure. Within mere minutes, an entire section of the housing unit collapses into a chaotic pile of twisted metal and shattered glass. Ground crews constantly spray water over the active demolition zones to aggressively suppress the thick clouds of hazardous airborne dust. Now the long-reach arm pivots toward the central control room once the highly sophisticated nervous system of this entire platform. This heavily reinforced module requires a bit more effort, as the thick glass walls stubbornly resist the initial mechanical bites. The operator repositions the jaws, finding a vulnerable structural seam to exploit and tear into the heavily armored steel exterior. With a violent crunch, the thick window frames buckle inward, shattering the remaining reinforced glass across the dusty control deck. Old computer consoles and electronic panels tumble out of the gaping hole, falling into the growing mountain of scrap below. The relentless machine continues its assault, ripping away the roof of the control center to expose the complex wiring inside. Heavy, thick cables hang down like lifeless steel vines, swaying gently as the excavator violently shakes the remaining structural framework. As the topsides are slowly reduced, the true complexity of this incredible engineering marvel is laid completely bare for everyone. We now move to the massive processing area where enormous pressure vessels and storage tanks dominate the steel landscape entirely. These huge cylindrical tanks once held highly volatile chemicals, so they have been thoroughly cleaned and purged before this demolition. The giant shears clamp down hard on the curved steel, puncturing the thick metal shell with a loud echoing bang. It looks exactly like a giant mechanical dinosaur viciously biting into a massive tin can, tearing away huge jagged strips. The metal twists and aggressively contorts, revealing the dark, hollow interior of the massive industrial tank to the bright sunlight. To speed up the process, specialized workers step in with extremely hot plasma torches to cut the thickest support columns. Showers of brilliant orange sparks furiously rain down as the intense plasma beam easily melts through the dense steel pillars. This beautiful combination of raw mechanical power and precise thermal cutting is absolutely essential for dismantling the toughest structural sections. The torch operator carefully slices a perfect line across the heavy beam, preparing it for the excavator to pull away. With a final glowing cut, the heavy steel column is fully severed, hanging precariously by just a thin metal thread. The long-reach excavator immediately moves back in, grabbing the weakened column and forcefully ripping it from the main platform. A massive massive section of the upper deck loses its primary support and begins to dangerously sag toward the dusty ground. Gravity finally takes over entirely, and tons of steel violently crash downward, sending powerful shockwaves through the entire demolition yard. The sheer noise of the collapsing bulkheads is absolutely thunderous, echoing loudly like a massive explosion across the industrial site. Thick dust violently billows outward from the heavy impact zone, temporarily obscuring the massive yellow excavators from our clear view. As the thick dirt slowly settles, we can clearly see the devastating aftermath of that incredibly powerful structural collapse event. What was once a highly organized multi-level deck is now just a tangled, chaotic mountain of jagged metal debris. The skilled demolition crew wastes absolutely no time immediately sending smaller machines in to carefully sort through the fresh wreckage. Powerful electromagnets attached to swift cranes quickly lift heavy chunks of valuable steel away from the main debris pile efficiently. Every single piece of this dismantled rig has significant value as recyclable scrap destined to be melted down very soon. While the giant shears angrily return to work on the remaining upper modules, relentlessly chewing through a massive ventilation shaft. The thin sheet metal of the ductwork easily crumples like cheap paper inside the incredibly powerful jaws of the machine. We get a stunning close-up view of the massive hydraulic cylinder pushing the heavy steel cutting blades tightly together. The intense pressure forces the thick steel to violently rupture, creating sharp, jagged edges that wildly point in every direction. Another truly crucial target is the heavy lifting crane that remains permanently attached to the upper deck of the rig. Dismantling this towering crane requires extreme precision to prevent it from accidentally tipping over and causing a massive disaster on site. Workers carefully use long plasma torches to strategically weaken the incredibly thick base bolts, securing the massive crane pedestal firmly. Once the heavy bolts are fully compromised, the long-reach excavator gently nudges the tall crane boom to topple it. The massive yellow crane slowly leans forward, accelerating rapidly before violently crashing into the lower deck with incredible destructive force. This perfectly executed maneuver safely brings the dangerous high structure down to ground level for much easier mechanical processing later. The giant shears immediately attack the fallen crane, swiftly snapping its complex lattice boom into much smaller, manageable steel sections. Sparks wildly fly everywhere as the incredibly sharp metal teeth scrape aggressively against the tough, weather-beaten marine-grade steel. We are witnessing the absolute fastest phase of the entire operation, where the rig rapidly loses its recognizable, majestic shape. The imposing steel whale is being systematically carved up, rapidly transforming from a proud vessel into anonymous industrial scrap metal. A massive section of the helicopter landing pad is the very next major component to face the relentless hydraulic shears. The wide, flat surface of the helipad is violently torn apart, revealing the intricate structural webbing hidden directly underneath it. Huge chunks of the green-painted landing deck fall away, crashing heavily onto the rapidly growing mountain of twisted debris. Throughout this chaotic process, the skilled machine operators maintain absolute control, working with a beautifully synchronized and deadly mechanical rhythm. They communicate constantly over their radios, carefully coordinating their powerful movements to safely bring down the largest structural steel elements. Multiple excavators team up to aggressively tackle the incredibly dense central core of the massive offshore platform topside structure. They attack from opposite sides, their giant metal jaws working together to completely tear apart a heavily reinforced generator room. Massive diesel engines and heavy electrical turbines are forcefully dragged out from the dark interior into the bright afternoon sunlight. These extremely heavy internal components are carefully set aside as they contain highly valuable copper wiring and rare internal metals. The sheer brutality of this heavy mechanical demolition is truly mesmerizing, showcasing the incredible destructive power of modern engineering machinery. As late afternoon approaches, the once towering topsides have been violently reduced to a mere fraction of their original height. The setting sun casts a beautiful golden glow over the jagged ruins, highlighting the massive scale of today's destructive progress. But the tough work is not over yet, as the massive lower support beams still desperately cling to each other. The plasma-cutting crews return to the field, their bright blue torches piercing through the gathering twilight with intense heat. They slice through the final thick anchor points, preparing the remaining lower deck structure for one last massive mechanical pull. The largest excavator on the site firmly grips the main crossbeam, its massive diesel engine roaring loudly under the strain. With a terrifying screech of tearing metal, the final major section of the topsides gives way and collapses completely downward. A massive cloud of thick dust rises high into the evening sky, marking the successful destruction of the upper modules. The ground literally shakes beneath our feet, a powerful reminder of the incredible weight contained within this massive steel beast. Now, the entire sprawling yard is completely covered in thousands of tons of freshly shredded metal and broken industrial debris. Night floodlights automatically turn on, brilliantly illuminating the chaotic wreckage as the secondary processing phase immediately kicks into high gear. Smaller shears quickly move in to efficiently chop the larger fallen beams into standard shipping sizes for the recycling foundry. Giant magnetic loaders tirelessly sweep across the dusty ground, effortlessly picking up hundreds of loose steel fragments in every pass. These valuable scraps are forcefully dropped into waiting dump trucks, ready to be transported away from the busy demolition site. It is truly amazing to realize that this twisted metal will soon be completely melted down and forged anew elsewhere. The steel whale has been thoroughly carved, its massive body fully dismantled to feed the endless global demand for steel. Tomorrow, the hardworking crews will return to aggressively tackle the remaining lower jacket legs holding up the empty platform base. For tonight, the incredibly loud roar of the massive hydraulic shears finally falls silent across the dark salvage yard. We have successfully witnessed one of the most extreme and fascinating industrial demolition processes anywhere in the entire modern world. Thank you for watching Demolition Worker. Please subscribe for more epic teardowns, and we will see you in the next episode.